The Prime Minister has made a surprise visit to British forces in Kuwait on his way home from Moscow. It's the first visit to Kuwait by an Allied leader since the country's liberation. He met servicemen from the Army, Navy and Air Force. Later, he had brief talks with King Fahd of Saudi Arabia. Mr. Major began by meeting troops from the 1st Armoured Division.
Post-war, the desert is filling with visitors. The first of the Allied leaders, John Major, in amongst the soldiers of 1st Armoured Division, spending the greater part of his time talking to individuals rather than making speeches.
I must say it was a certain menace. You're hiding back there. Was it modesty? Sure. Nothing to be modest about. It was a pretty remarkable logistical exercise.
He was many miles further south in Saudi Arabia when he came in January. Then it was to encourage, to reassure, to boost morale. Today he was explaining that it was all worth it, that it had been necessary.
I just want to say to you that it was necessary. And you were here not just because of the invasion of Kuwait, important though that was, but if you hadn't been here with your allies, if this problem of Kuwait hadn't been sorted out now, then it might have been a much bigger and much more dangerous problem not very many years away.
7th Armoured Brigade, here since mid-October and still raising a cheer. And with their souvenirs on show, captured tanks, most in working order. Indeed, there were instances where Allied troops came on Iraqi fighting vehicles with their engines still running, the crews having run away. There was limited time in the Prime Minister's schedule. The weather had delayed his arrival, or rather the weather compounded with the filthy smoke still pouring from the burning Kuwaiti oil fields. He moved by helicopter through the haze of oily dust to 4th Armoured Brigade. Again, more trophies on display. Souvenirs, said Mr. Major, which could either be taken home and taken apart for information or used as target practice. And he was presented with some personal souvenirs.
This will give me cabinet authority of a sort. Just wait till we discuss public expenditure next year.
There were more captured Iraqi weapons with the artillery, an archway of guns on his 3rd desert stop. But having fought a war here, what is the basis for British involvement in the future in this area?
We're not going to leave a standing army here. There is no question about that. There will be no British standing army in the Gulf. That is perfectly clear. We were here to do a particular job. It's been done magnificently well. Now we'll bring the troops home as soon as we can.
But Mr. Major didn't talk of politics when speaking to the troops. He talked about when they would be coming home. And he said they wouldn't be kept here for one day longer than was necessary. This is Kate Adey with 1st Armoured Division in Kuwait.
Kuwait City is still a dangerous place. A rocket launcher was carefully aimed by a British soldier to protect the major motorcade. First, a greeting for Crown Prince Saad, Kuwait's most senior minister. Mr. Major is the first of the Allied leaders to visit Kuwait. Not even the country's emir has made the journey because of security risks. A clear sky gave the Prime Minister an impression of the size of the problems here. Earlier, the oil fires blackened visibility and delayed Mr. Major's arrival. The touchdown at the British Embassy was as well protected as the earlier locations. We had heard gunfire in the vicinity minutes beforehand. No red carpet here, war demands improvisation, a lesson well learned by Ambassador Michael Weston, who stayed through much of the Iraqi occupation. First, a chat to Britons who had stayed throughout. A group of them were gathered here.
Well, it must have been a dreadful few months.
It was hard, but thanks to the Kuwaitis, our Kuwaiti friends who look after us, and they're in command.
I'm delighted to hear it. Let's hope for better days now.
More congratulations for the soldiers, and the Prime Minister was intrigued by the moustache.
Just started it, sir.
I find that hard to believe.
Well, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been around a while, I would think. They all seem in very good health.
Walking back to the embassy gate, Mr. Major turned to the Ambassador Michael Weston, who he said had done a wonderful job.
He's one of a kind. That's why we brought him back here so speedily. The right man in the right place at the right time.
Time was not on the Prime Minister's side. Another series of helicopter journeys took him to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and a meeting with King Fahd. But it will be the image of Kuwait City which will be etched upon John Major's mind today. The decision to help in its liberation taken by his predecessor. The opportunity now for him to savour the victory. Michael Macmillan, BBC News, Kuwait.